There's a lot of attention on giving effective commands, which we'll talk about here in a second, and how we actually are talking to kids and kind of prepping them for the behaviors that we'd like to see. What parents come in wanting is this other piece that's included in all parenting programs. How do you do timeout? Parents usually walk through the door saying, give me the punishment part for this difficult child I have. And timeout is always a part of these programs, but it's at the tail end of these programs. It's front-loaded with the ways that we want to reinforce kids and talk to, communicate with them in effective ways and use charts and all sorts of things. And then at the tail end, how do we use certain negative consequences for problems that we're encountering? And I'd say the same strategies should be applied in the classroom. Really is typically the focus in the classroom. So, for example, in a general sense, if we're talking about kids who can be problematic in the classroom, that we want to try to some extent do some talking in private, and we'll talk about why that is as we move along here. Keep things calm, and I'd say if you, as we're talking, if you're putting yourself in the position of being a parent, for those of you who are parents, or in whatever setting this sort of makes sense for you as a child, of a parent, it's very easy for things, for discussions at home, to cycle into arguments. And within families, we all have roles that we play. We all fall into those roles easily, and there's a reason why every discussion often seems to cycle into the same outcome. I'm yelling at you, and you're yelling at me, and I'm walking away, and I'm slamming a door, and you're yelling outside the door, and so we talk a lot to parents about how to engage our kids in a dispassionate way, right? How to remove sort of the emotion from what it is we're trying to convey to kids, which is that they have choices to make about their behaviors. There are consequences associated with those choices. We hope they make good choices, and we want to guide them in that, but ultimately we can't push our buttons when that happens. And I think it's very easy for difficult behaviors in front of us, whether it's in the classroom or at home, to activate elements of us that just can send us through the roof, right? And I've seen teachers get very upset in the classroom with the kid because it's a behavior they've seen every day over an extended period of time. But maintaining a sense of calm in the face of a difficult child is kind of a critical element. And some of these we'll sort of just cover as we go through some specific examples. I said one of the pieces that you see in all parenting programs is giving effective commands. And as simple as it sounds, parents are great about looking for shortcuts in the way that they communicate with their kids. And I say this as a parent who I teach parenting stuff. I work with parents on a daily basis in our clinic, and I teach this. And I can point to you on a daily basis the ways in which I cut a corner when I'm communicating with my own kids, right? So if we're talking about how you give effective commands, it's things like you want to be in close proximity to a child. So rather than yelling across the room, or rather than my yelling to my teenage son up in his bedroom, to come down so we can talk about something, I actually have to get up and take some steps and get in close proximity. But that messages aren't delivered through walls, and they're not delivered around corners, and they're not delivered down basement stairs, but that we're actually there. We can make eye contact, so you know your kid is listening to you. That commands, instructions are short and to the point. So as parents, we love to explain things. Let me tell you why I'm telling you this, and I'm going to tell you 3 times, and I'm going to tell you over and over and over again, and I really want you to understand this, and this is based on experience, and I know you don't get it right now, and your kids just, eventually the messages are sort of in one ear and out the other. So instructions, how you doing, Matt?
I'm good.
Good. So instructions are short and to the point, and instructions are truly instructions, not questions. Right? And so we tend to drift into using questions. Don't you think it's time to go to bed? Or don't you think you should be getting ready for bed? Now you've opened the door for your child to say, no, I don't think so. Or don't you think it's time to brush your teeth? No, I don't think so. Now, lots of kids don't pull the challenge out immediately, but you've phrased it in a way that leaves it open to discussion. If it's time to go to bed and that's what you're trying to convey, then it's a statement, it's not a question. You need to get ready for bed. I need you to do this thing. As opposed to creating something. And then parents can understand why the kids take the bait, and it becomes a discussion that they never wanted to take place, but some of that has to do with the way that we're communicating. So, we don't yell from the other room, we get in close proximity, make eye contact, commands, not questions, short and to the point. Parents also tend to chain things together, so we don't want to chain commands. But parents chain things together. I need you to go upstairs, get your pajamas on, brush your teeth, wash your face, you know, and I need you to give the dog a little bit of extra water, so on. And what you find is 5 minutes later, the child just sort of drifted off to, you know, Xbox or Wii or watching a little TV or something. And you say, well, what the heck's going on? And they lost it somewhere between my pajamas are on, and then there was something else I was supposed to do. And you know, now my wife would say that this is a little like sending me to the grocery store with just the 3 things. I got it. Yep, I got it. The 3 things I'm going to get. And then I'm texting from the store going, and that second thing was what? The third thing was what? We have a system now, which is just she has to text me the 3 things. But so my wife's made the mistake of chaining together the grocery list, chaining it so that as if I'm going to remember all this stuff. And parents will do this, where we give you the 4 things to do, and the child drifts. There's also an element here that's important, which is by doing so, even if your child were able to get through all 3, 4 steps, is you lost the ability to reinforce them along the way. What we really want to be able to do is catch our kids being good, reinforce you know, their efforts in doing things. So I need you to get your pajamas on, tell me when you're done. Means you now have the opportunity to say, hey, that's a great job, that was really quick, now I need you to brush your teeth, tell me when you're done. Great job brushing your teeth, you're doing a nice job tonight, I need you to wash your face, and so forth. But those little bits of reinforcement along the way are what help to ensure that this behavior is going to occur again. All right, same thing in the classroom. To the extent possible, right, where we want you to be sort of nomads in the classroom, I know that's not always possible, we're all tethered to our technology, you know, but to the extent possible where you can be out in the room, it's the drive-by reinforcement, right, where it's I stop, I instruct, I also make sure I have a chance to reinforce kids who got their instruction 2 seconds ago when I cycle back around. But commands are more easily given when we can make sure that we're next to the child and doing it in a short and sweet way, and that it really is about something we require, not a request we're making of the child that then leads to some discussion, you know, that sort of goes awry. Interestingly, probably no concept, either in the classroom or at home, seems to bring up as much debate as the use of reinforcement. Sounds simple, right? Kid does something well, pat them on the back, tell them they're doing well. I can't tell you the number of times, certainly within a clinical setting, that parents raise the question, why should I reinforce my kid for doing something he should be doing anyway? That wasn't the way I was raised. I don't see the need for it. It's not part of my personality. I'm not warm and fuzzy. That psychology stuff is, insert your expletive here, but this idea that a simple reinforcer is somehow leading a child down the wrong path because it's reinforcing a behavior that just should occur naturally. Like if child behavior is unfolded naturally and every kid was on the right path with absolutely no guidance, you'd be out of a job, I'd be out of a job. It doesn't occur that way. But parents really struggle with this question about how do I reinforce my child? And even once on board, right? So if I could get everybody on board with the idea that, look, giving a kid a pat on the back for being able to demonstrate a skill for you or show you the behavior that you want to see in the classroom is a good idea. We could still then debate, okay, how often is this thing supposed to occur? In what form is it supposed to occur? And the fact is, here's the basic concept that we're shooting for, that in whatever setting we're encountering a child, we want to catch this kid being good where the ratio of the attention that we're giving, I mean, this is really about, all of you have dealt with your FBA stuff this year, this is really about the function of the behavior. To the extent that some childhood behaviors, not all, but some childhood behaviors are to seek attention, right? Pull in parents, even negative attention, and this is where I think parents struggle. How can my standing over my child yelling at them for problem behavior? How can my getting into this argument with my child in any way, shape, or form be reinforcing? And the fact is, negative attention is better than no attention at all. If a child is devoid of affection and attention from attachment figures, then they'll bring it in however they have to. And if the way you get mom's attention, dad's attention is acting up, then they'll act up, because that's when the parents suddenly get off the couch and get drawn in. So what we're shooting for here is a ratio that's, we always argue like 10 to 1 would be great. We never achieve that, but a 10 to 1 ratio of catch them being good to times when our attention is being given for a problematic behavior, right? And this is, in parenting practices, this is step number 1. This is the first thing we do, first thing we teach. And the need then for time out and some other practices that parents are often pulling for diminishes greatly. Parents, actually, this is where you can look brilliant in the eyes of a parent, where you start doing things like catch them being good, and within a week or two, the problem behaviors have just fallen off the table. I mean, the numbers have dropped drastically, and all we did was take parental attention and shift it to catch a kid being good. Now, the parental counter-argument, and obviously I'm talking about parents and parenting, but there's a parallel in what we're doing in the classroom. The parental counter-argument is, but my God, he's so difficult to deal with at times, that when he's sitting doing something, when he's watching television, when he's reading a book, when he's playing on the Wii, when he's doing this thing, that's my respite. I just want to breathe. I just want to put my feet up. I just want a moment of time, right? That's when you just sit back, pop open a beer, just, this is my 5 minutes. And I'm waiting for what I know tonight's cycle will be, which is an argument about bedtime or a homework completion or something, but I need these few moments to get fueled up for that. And nothing could be more wrong. What we want to do is really pay attention to the times when our child is giving us a glimpse of a behavior we want to see occurring more often, whether in the classroom, whether at home. Now, parents, well, again, the counter-argument is, oh, no, he never gives you those moments. No, it's right. Their argument is this: he's a demon seed. He's just, the horns are under the hair. I'm sure of it, and I don't see any of those behaviors. Now, that's not true, and you really have to work with some parents to identify these flashes of neutral behavior the child might present, non-argumentative behavior. Define it however you think is necessary. But when those things are happening, the time when a child sits still for a few minutes, the parent has to jump on it. Hey, you know what, I really like it when you're quiet like that. Or I really like it when you're reading like that. Or I like it when we have sort of some still moments or something. I actually have a list of like 100 ways to catch your kid being good, and phrases you can use so that it's not a repetitive kind of dry process with them. But you have to make sure that you're hitting kids with these opportunities, just a quick reinforcement. Now, parents will say, I don't want to interrupt it. If he's sitting reading a book and I come by and I reinforce, now I stop that activity. So I've actually stopped the thing I want to see. Now, I think what they envision in terms of the reinforcement is the idea that, like, you swoop the child up, right? Oh, this is wonderful. You're reading a book and this is tremendous and I just love it when you do that. And, and that's not what we're, so now we have to teach parents how to appropriately walk by, hand on the shoulder and say, hey, you know what, I really like it when you sit and read quietly. It's hit and run. I'm in the room, I pay attention, I make sure they see that I'm reinforcing, in close proximity to eye contact, I reinforce and off they go. And we just keep doing it. We cycle through and we make sure that we're hitting this regularly.